and what brings you here? I'm curious to see, so type it out in the chat. I'm curious to see what brings you to this event. Is it that you are looking to shed stubborn pounds? Are you looking to turn around your health? Did you hear about WildFit's, the WildFit effect, where people who have been diagnosed with diabetes reverse that diabetes? What was it for you? Okay, so a lot of people are saying need to lose weight. Fantastic. Absolutely. So this was what brought me into WildFit. I started WildFit in 2016, and I started it by accident. I did not realize how much carrying excess pounds was hurting me. So if you're a man and if you're above 25% in body fat, that's the critical zone, right? That's when you are borderline obese. And I grew up in a country, Malaysia, where, sorry, I got something in my eye. I grew up in a country, Malaysia, where the nature of food is just not very healthy. 47% of adults in my country over 18 are clinically obese. My mom is diabetic, and my family has a history of obesity. So I just accepted this as my fate. So I was at 22% body fat. Now, that wasn't obese, but it was at a level where I didn't feel comfortable wearing t-shirts out in public. So I wore baggy shirts, and on top of the shirt to hide, my bulging belly, I wore a vest. If you look at old videos of me, you will see that. I was not comfortable going to the pool. I lived in a condo where there was a pool, but I didn't feel comfortable going to the pool. I just wasn't proud of my body. But the worst thing was this, the energy levels. So every day at around 5 p.m. in the office, I had to open up a secret drawer, take out a Snickers or a Mars bar, and eat that Mars bar for energy. See, I bought into this like bullshit media lie that you need energy drinks or you need Snickers bars or Mars bars for a pick-me-up. What I didn't realize is that I was addicted, and I was addicted to something worse more addictive than cocaine. According to science, I was addicted to sugar. If I wasn't getting sugar in my body, then I would lose energy. And I didn't know how to get out of this. Now, I was getting sugar because every single day I would go down to the local Starbucks in Malaysia, and I would order twice a day. I would order a latte sometimes with whipped cream, sometimes with additional flavoring, not realizing how much sugar was in that. I also had bad skin. Why? Because when you take a latte, you're consuming a lot of milk. And 24% of adults, me included, milk actually affects your skin. It causes acne. In fact, there's a beautiful video on milk out on YouTube, and it says milk has no nutritional benefits at all, right, to a human being. It's neither positive, it's negative. Neither is it negative. It can fill you with calories if you need fuel. But in 24% of adults, and this was me, you would get acne. And I had like really bad patchy skin. And so I had all of these issues, like the energy lows, weird skin, feeling bloated, but I didn't know how to solve it. And there was something else I was experiencing. I didn't understand it until 2020 when a new scientific report came out. So I noticed that I would get brain fog. Now, after doing WildFit, my brain was operating at a different level. I was so much more productive. I was so much more effective. And I couldn't understand why. But in 2020, Dr. Daniel Amen, one of America's top brain doctors, released a study that showed that for every extra bit of fat that you carry around your waist or your thighs or your butt, it actually slows down the cognition of your brain. That means you are slower at work and you experience more brain fog. Feel free to Google this study. So I had energy lows. I needed to take a nap. I needed to eat a nap in the middle of the workday. I needed to eat a Mars bar. And no matter how much I worked out in the gym, and I was going to the gym for about 2 hours a week, I couldn't shed the weight because I bought into this other crazy lie that working out is what it takes to shape your body. Turns out that's not true. Your body shape is 85% food, according to most modern research and to most qualified American doctors. Okay, so these were all the situations I had: brain fog, lack of energy, addiction to sugar, near obesity, 22% body fat, and self-image issues. In other words, I felt conscious being in front of the camera. I felt conscious being out in public without a shirt on. If you look at my Instagram, I didn't actually start posting on Instagram until 2018, after I'd gone through that WildFit that WildFit transformation. So I want you to know that this was huge for me. I did WildFit at the age of 40. I am now 47, and I'm significantly younger than I was before. But here's the thing that really, really shocked me. The changes happened in 90 days, 90 days flat. At the end of 90 days, I'd gone from 22% body fat to 14% body fat. For the first time, I felt comfortable being without a shirt on a beach. My energy levels changed. I no longer crave the Mars bar. One of the most interesting things is that my Starbucks addiction completely solved itself. If I took milk, if I took a latte, I would feel sick. I still drink coffee now, but only black coffee. What I'm drinking right now is black decaf coffee. WildFit helped me get in touch with a lot of these issues. But the surprising thing was in 2016, after I did it, my brain functioning improved so much. The latter half of 2016 was the year that Mindvalley started exploding. And we were really never really successful as a company until 2017. And I attribute that to me as a CEO being able to think clearer. Because if the leader is going through brain fog, if the leader has bad practices, it's going to permeate to everyone else. Now, there's more I can share. WildFit gave me confidence back. I started going on social media. I started being a spokesperson for my company. Again, if you don't believe me, scroll through my Instagram. You'll see my very first post on social media was June 2018. It was significantly after I'd gone through my WildFit transformation. And now I have 3 million fans across Facebook and Instagram. And these fans have allowed me to get my books out to the world, to help spread my mission. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't gone through that transformation. I share this with you because I want you guys to know that what you're experiencing, right? Weight, like excess fat, that's stubborn, behavior that you know is detrimental to your health, but you don't know how to solve it, addictions, whether to Starbucks latte or sugar, brain fog, I've been there. I get you. And when I went through the WildFit transformation, the first thing I wanted to do was tell everyone about it. So I put my mom, who is at risk of diabetes, on WildFit, and she lost 5 kilograms. And my mom is a tiny person, so 5 kilograms, 11 pounds is a lot. That was big for my mom because my mom lost her brother to diabetes. Her brother, Jack, who was this incredible man, died because of diabetes. And so this was a big deal for my family. I then put my father on WildFit. He too went through a transformation. My dad is now really, really, really lean. And then I put 100 of my employees and their spouses on WildFit. And this was shocking. The record weight loss was 91 pounds. Now, this person lost close to 60 pounds in the first 90 days of WildFit. He continued with healthy habits. He went up to 91 pounds in 6 months. The second was 51 pounds, and the third was also 51 pounds. I remember of the second and third people, one of them was a programmer from Egypt. And if you live in Egypt, if you live in the Middle East, you know that Coca-Cola advertising is everywhere. When I traveled to Egypt, I was shocked. People take Coca-Cola with lunch, with dinner. Sugar is just part of the diet there. And so this person lost 51 pounds on WildFit. It transformed his life. Now, here's the crazy thing. He started getting on a call with his brother in Cairo, and his brother didn't even go on WildFit, but his brother, just listening to him, ended up losing another 10 kilograms. 10 kilograms, that's around 20 pounds, just from inspiration, from seeing his bro transform his body. So WildFit has a remarkable impact on your entire family, not to mention your career. And I want to introduce the man who designed the program. So please give a big warm welcome to Eric Edmeades.
Hey, Vishen, really, really, really excited to be here, and always love hearing your stories. And you know, it's so funny that whenever I see your mom and dad, there's such warmth from them, and I'm just very grateful. Anyway, super happy to be here.
Thank you, Eric. So I'm gonna be in the background. I'm gonna turn off the camera. I'll be facilitating the Q&A at the end. I'll be helping explain to people how the upcoming WildFit class of January 30th works. This is the best value WildFit class we've ever done in our history since 2016. It's never been this affordable. We've never added this much to the program. Okay, so I want you guys to know this. And Eric, all you now.
This is a really excellent opportunity. We partnered together with Mindvalley years ago, and every time we come to the beginning of the year, we do a larger campaign. And this year, Mindvalley wanted to do like even bigger, better things. So that's where we're headed. So I'm super excited to share with you guys some really powerful distinctions about how health works and about how our relationship with food works. And by the end of this, just this, I think you're going to have some tools that will really, really empower you to make some changes. So the first thing I want to share with you is that, maybe, and also find out a little bit from you is, I'm curious how many of you have ever been on a diet, found yourself quite restricted, stuck with it for a period of time, and then made a single exception, and that single exception sent you into a bit of a spiral. Has anybody been through that cycle at all by chance? Has anybody been through that cycle many, many times? I'm curious. Yeah. Okay. Holy cow. It seems like we've hit a common thread here, right? So I want to share some statistics with you. A big newspaper in the United Kingdom released a story last year, and it said that the average person will go on two diets a year through their lifetime on an average. And I want you to guess, what is the average amount of time that they stick to each of those diets? How many weeks, months, days? What's the average amount of time that somebody's able to stick to a diet? What do you think? They go 2 diets a year. Look at the answers here. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 week, 2 hours. Yes, some people are 2 hours. Well, the statistical average was 6 days. So that means that people are going an average of 2 diets and they're lasting for 6 days. So out of the 365 days in the calendar, they're on a diet for 12 days. And you know what? Those are hateful days. Those are stressful, awful days. They're days of deprivation. And worse than that, they do more damage than good. And I want to talk to you about why they do that damage and how to break that cycle. My goal for you is that by the end of this webinar, by the end of this masterclass, you will realize that you never want or need to go on a diet ever again. Is anybody up for that? Anybody want to? That's diet-free life. I never want to be on a diet ever again. And I want to be healthy and have a great relationship with food. Give me yeah, there you go. You're in. Okay. So let's just back up for a moment and give you a little bit of personal background. I'm Eric Edmees, as Vishen said, and I was once sick and tired and overweight and in not very good shape. And I also had a number of really quite serious health issues, and I was visiting doctors and specialists, and they were prescribing for me. What were they prescribing, do you suppose? Were they prescribing running shoes and healthy food, or were they prescribing needles, inhalants, injections, and medicine, right? You know what they were prescribing. And none of those things were working. None of those things were working. Sure, they would take away the pain for a few hours or a few days, but the problems were all still there. And the problems were all still there, and it was driving me crazy. And then one day, some friends of mine sat me down and said, I think you might need to have a new relationship with food. I'm like, what do you mean? I eat like everybody else. I eat fairly normally. You know, I'm sure I eat a little junk food here or there, but I'm okay. And I was inspired to try something. I decided for the first time in my life to think about food and make some changes. So I added some stuff and I subtracted some stuff and I stuck with it. It was hard. I used willpower. It was really tough. I made it 4 times. I made it 4 times the average. I made it a month. By the end of that month, I had lost 35 pounds or 15 kilograms. I had ridded myself of all of my allergies. I no longer had digestive problems, and I no longer had to go for the surgery that was prescribed to me. I was radically transformed. And that began for me a journey of incredible curiosity. I started studying everything I could about food. Matter of fact, I'll tell you what really got me going. And this is a little scary, but I spoke to my doctor and said to my doctor, like, you know, how long did you go to medical school? And he told me that he'd been in medical school for 6 years. And then I asked him, you know, in that 6 years, you know, how much of that time did you spend studying food? Anybody want to make a guess? 6 years of medical school. How many weeks are dedicated? How many semesters? What is dedicated to food? There you have it. You're seeing the answer there, mostly 0. You see a few people saying a few days, a few weeks. I will tell you that if your doctor studied food in most countries around the world, your doctor did that as an elective, as an optional. They didn't have to do it. And most of them didn't. So once I realized that I was basically in a plane with a pilot that never learned how to fly, I figured I better learn how to fly. I'm going to do every bit. I'm going to do all the research. And then something happened. I found it. I dug deep into nutritional anthropology and I discovered something, and this is going to make so much sense to you. Please listen to what I'm about to say. This is going to make so much sense to you. If you got yourself an exotic pet, and you suddenly had to figure out how to feed your exotic pet, you have to feed your pet. You have two choices as to how to figure out how to feed your pet. One is you can go to Harvard Medical School and read all the studies that the pet food company sponsored at the university. You could read those studies, or you could tune into the Nature Channel. You could turn into the Nature Channel and you could watch a special about how your animal lived, and then you could try to do. Which do you think would be more effective? The studies sponsored by the food companies. By the way, every food science you've read was sponsored by somebody in the food industry trying to drive demand. That's why one day bread is good for you and then it's bad. Wine is good, wine is bad. Coffee's good, coffee's bad. Meat is good, meat is bad. Anybody confused? Is anybody confused? You're confused because once you're confused, you will give in to their marketing. Once you're confused, they have you. And the next thing you know, they're hijacking your holidays. I mean, we all know that, you guys might know the nativity story. So some of you are familiar with Christianity, the nativity story, Jesus is born and then the wise men come and the wise men brought Christmas cake and candy canes, or no, they brought frankincense, myrrh, and gold. How did all those foods end up hijacking Christmas? And every holiday's been hijacked. Now they've even hijacked your emotional states. Who here recognizes that there's certain emotional states that there's food prescriptions for? Like, I want you guys to tell me in the chat, what food do we believe as a population can solve depression? Show me what food solves depression. Let's see. There it is. Chocolate, ice cream, sugar, donuts, chocolate, cookies, chocolate. Yeah, okay. All right. Now, how about this? What food can solve heartbreak? I want to know what food can solve heartbreak. Let's see what they have here. It's like, wine, chocolate, alcohol, chocolate. Okay, you get my point, is that once they confused us, then they started hypnotizing us or anchoring us. And so they hijacked our emotional state. So now you're feeling tired at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You deserve a break today. You deserve a Kit Kat. And the next thing you know, we're being programmed. Now, what does that result in? Well, what that results in is less than optimal health. But more recently, it's become really, really bad. And I'm going to try and describe this. Maybe it's a little bit clumsy, but I want you to imagine that you have a brick on a table with an elastic band, and you start pulling that brick, and you start pulling that brick, and you start pulling that brick. The brick won't move for a long time. You can be pulling that elastic band, and you can be pulling that elastic band, and the brick won't move, and the brick won't move, and the brick won't move. But there will come a point in time where there's enough tension on that band that brick will come flying at you. It'll come flying at you, and it'll break your hand. That's what's happened to us with the diet industry. You see, in 1800, the average American was eating about 4 pounds of sugar a year. And then by 1900, so 1800 is 4 pounds. By 1900, the average American was eating 40 pounds of sugar a year. Can anybody tell me how many pounds the average person in the Western world is eating today? Anybody know the number? Natasha nails it on the first go. It's 154, actually, Natasha, as I understand it. But 154 pounds or 75 kilograms of fat. But here's the thing. 100 years ago, cancer, heart disease, diabetes did not even factor in the top 10 killers of human beings. They weren't even on the list. It was like, but if you read the lists, you can see that like heart disease starts making an appearance in the 1920s and 30s. Cancer pops in shortly after that. Then cancer jumps up into the number 6 position. And then all of a sudden diabetes appears at position number 9. And then heart disease jumps up to position number 3 by the 1960s. And then bam, heart disease jumps up to position number 1. It's like a horse race. Cancer slots in the number 2 slot. Diabetes slides in at number 4. And just recently in 2020, you know what debuted at the number 10 spot? Suicide. I mean, 100 years ago, none of those things were killing people, not with any kind of regularity. What has happened is that we started pulling that elastic band, 4 pounds of sugar, 40 pounds of sugar. But something happened in the 1970s and the elastic band snapped and boom, the brick came flying in. If you look at any charts on diabetes, explodes in 1980. It just starts exploding. Alzheimer's, dementia explodes. Heart disease explodes. The brick snapped. And we got so dangerous in our food supply that we are now dealing with massive epidemic and pandemic levels of diabetes, obesity, inflammation, heart disease, cancer, and the rest. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. It's not meant to be that way. In the 1970s, you couldn't get type 2 diabetes under 40 years old. It just basically wasn't available to you. It was adult onset. Now there are teenagers and people in their early 20s that are pre-diabetic and diabetic and carrying extra weight that they really don't want to be carrying, that their body doesn't want them to be carrying. So we have a problem. I think we all agree that there's a problem. So what do we do about the problem? Well, we go on a diet, right? We should go on a diet. Well, we already talked about that. That is not working. It is not working. And I'm going to share with you a bunch of reasons why it doesn't work so that you never do it again. Reason number one, if you restrict yourself massively emotionally for a long period of time, you are going to you're going to sprain a muscle. You're going to sprain your self-control muscle, your willpower muscle. Willpower is a very powerful skill that humans have, but it's only meant to be used for minutes, hours, maybe days. So you can hold your breath, but if you were in a smoky room, you were in a big smoky room and you held your breath, there would come a point where your body would take over and make you breathe, even though logically you knew you shouldn't. That's what willpower is like. Willpower can hold your breath, but then eventually the body will take over. Well, how many of you have ever used willpower to not eat some stuff, and then one point your willpower snapped and you were breathing the food in? Anybody had that experience? I'm being so good, and then boom, suddenly the willpower snaps. So willpower absolutely doesn't work, and yet every diet on earth is predicated upon the use of willpower. So done. We don't ever want to do that again. Problem number two, weight loss. Weight loss. First of all, that's just a terrible word. Nobody likes to lose anything. Weight release is maybe a little bit more functional, but here's the problem. Most diets are based on the idea that you should count calories. You should count calories and measure your food and eat for your points and count your calories. If you eat less calories than you burn, you'll lose weight. That is absolutely not true. Or it's true in a very flawed way. Here's what happens. Your ancestors had to survive droughts and had to survive food shortages and famines. And so your body has become very good at that. And so what does that mean? It means that if your ancestors detected a food shortage, their bodies would become very restricted. Their metabolism would slow down and become better at energy. And I don't want to use a lot. And your body would be like, I'm holding on to all my fat. We're having a food shortage. I'm not letting go of my fat. And that's what would get you through those food shortages, is your body becoming very conservationalist. Like, I'm holding my fat. I'm not letting it go. But by the way, how do you think our ancestors knew there was a food shortage? Did they have an app for that? Did they find out on Fox or CNN or CNBC or Sky News? No, they found out because there wasn't any food. They found out because they were eating a calorie restricted diet because there wasn't much food. Then their body goes, holy crap, there's no food. And the body shuts down. Metabolism goes into some kind of metabolic hibernation, and the body becomes incredibly good at storing its fat. Wait a second now. Doesn't every diet start with count your calories and restrict your calories, which then puts your body into stress and says, don't release any fat. But then your body still needs some energy. So where does your body get the energy? It starts burning protein. It starts burning your muscles. So yeah, you might lose a little weight, but then you're burning muscles. Now, as you lose muscles, guess what happens? Your metabolism slows down and you put weight on more quickly. And the next time you try to lose the weight, it's even harder. Does this pattern sound familiar to anybody? Anybody getting a new distinction or new view of why this doesn't work? Great. Excellent. So now how about this? Well, you could exercise. You should exercise. If you just ate a little less and moved a little more, you wouldn't be so overweight. No, it doesn't work like that. Do you know? I want you to know something really important. Exercise is important. There's no question about it. Exercise, however, cannot make you healthy. Exercise can make you healthier. Food is what starts the journey. And the reason that we all believe that exercise is the path is that some years ago, the soft drink companies realized that people were starting to curb back on their purchases of soft drinks because they were trying to eat less calories. Now, eating less calories isn't the answer, but eating different kinds of calories is important. But so now, all these soft drink companies, they see sales starting to go down a little. So what do? They do two things. They start developing 0-calorie chemical concoctions, rubbish, garbage stuff. And by the way, drinking diet drinks is proven to help people gain weight. Like, it's insane what they did. But they created their low calorie, no calorie drinks. But then they did another thing. They started sponsoring education campaigns about exercise. Why? Because if they could trick you into exercising, then you would be willing to buy more calories. I hope you heard me. Exercise is not the path. Exercise is an improvement on a healthy life, but it is not a way to create one. And in fact, for many of you, for the vast majority of you, exercise does this. It raises stress chemicals in your body. It raises stress chemicals in your body. And then as it raises those stress chemicals in your body begins to prioritize sugar as a craving. It starts to burn your muscle away. And it prioritizes saving fat because you're under stress. Do you understand the problem? Is that intensive stressful exercise will actually slow down or stop weight loss. So exercise is not the answer. And let me tell you one more thing. You do not want to be walking up and stepping on the scale all the time. And I want to be really clear about this. When you step on the scale, how many of you have been through something like this? You want to weigh yourself because you want to get to the right weight that you want to be at. And so you're going to go to the scale. You get out of the shower, you dry yourself off. You got to dry your hair. You got to get all the moisture off you before you step. You've also gone to the bathroom. You make sure you get all the stuff out, right? Because you want to be, and you take off your jewelry and get the stuff off because you no clothes. And you walk up there dry and naked and you're walking up to that scale. But here's the problem. Up until this point in time, the reason you've been doing all this preparation is because stepping on the scale is stressful. So here's what's going on. You're building up stress chemicals as you walk toward the scale. It's like you're walking toward a spider and you're walking toward the scale and your cortisol levels are coming up. And then you step on the scale. How many of you, honestly, how many of you step on the scale with this facial expression or this feeling in your body? Anybody step on the scale just a little bit like that? You step on the scale. I don't want to look. I don't want to look. And you look down. And then if the numbers are wrong, and you punish yourself and you're like, it's happening again. I'm putting the weight back on. I'm not losing the weight. And you raise more cortisol. And so stepping on the scale is causing you to gain weight. All right. I hope that I've deframed some of the myths that have been steering you in the wrong direction because they're dangerous. And I want to deal with one more. And that is that every diet out there is designed badly to hurt your self-esteem. It's designed to hurt your self-esteem. And the way it does that is they give you a bunch of rules. And then you're going to break one of those rules. I'm going to show you one of the ways. How many of you have ever broken a rule like this? You have rules and you've been very good. You've been very, very good. But then you had a really rough day at work. Or you had a really good day at work, or you went to a friend's party and somewhere you were offered something that was outside of the rules. And so this voice popped into your head and it went something like this. Oh, look, they brought your favorite ice cream. Yeah, but we have rules. We have rules. We're on a diet. We're not doing it. You've been so good. You've been so good. You deserve it. You can go back to being good tomorrow. No. We've been through that before. You know very well that if we have the ice cream that no, but this time will be different. And you don't even have to have a big bowl. You could just, anybody have that conversation? Anybody ever have that? And then you eat that ice cream and then what happens? Your self-esteem goes down. Your self-esteem goes down. You feel, what emotions do you feel? Self-esteem goes down. What emotions come up after you've eaten it? You've eaten it. Your stomach is full. You feel, there it is. Guilt, shame. By the way, tell me right now, what foods can solve guilt and shame? What is a great food to solve guilt and shame? Oh, look, ice cream, sugar, chocolate. Do you see the problem? You see the problem? It's like the diet industry was designed to hurt people. And it does. So what we want to do is we want to take a very different approach. We want to learn the mechanisms that drive us. Because look, guys, you think maybe you guys came to this webinar and you thought this webinar was going to be all about food. Eric's going to talk about food. He's going to tell us what to eat and he's going to tell us what not to eat. You already know. Tell me in the chat, what do you think people should eat more of? What should they eat more of? If they want optimal health, optimal energy, longevity, what should they eat more of? You know what it is here. Oh, look. Okay, somebody wrote spaghetti. Get them off the webinar. Oh, they might be from Italy. They can stay. Okay, listen, but look, you can see the core things here. Lean protein, seasonal plant-based foods. There it is. Now, Now tell me, what should you avoid entirely or at least eat less of? What should you avoid entirely or eat less of? Look, sugar is going to show up on that list in a big way, but there you go. Sugar, refined sugar, dairy products. I know that's a button for some people. I'll come back to that in a minute. The palm oil, processed foods, all the whites, there it is. Now, in other words, you guys all know more than the average nutritionist, frankly. I mean, looking at the list you've given me, you guys know what the nutritionists know. So why don't people do this? Why don't people eat more of the stuff that they're supposed to eat more of and less of the stuff that they're supposed to eat less of? Habit conditioning. So let's talk a little bit about conditioning. When you were a child, you fell down, you skinned your knee, and you were crying. And if you're a parent, how do you feel when your kids are in pain? How do you feel when your kids are in pain? You feel their pain. And so selfishly, you want to end their pain. I know it doesn't seem selfish, but the truth is you're wanting to end it because it's hurting you. And then you realize, well, I could give them a cookie. And then we give them a cookie, and then they stop crying, and it distracts them from the pain. Mission accomplished, except for one problem. One problem. That child now learns that cookie is an anesthetic and that cookie is equal to love. And so that child will be 40 years old walking through the grocery store and buy a box of cookies just in case. Just in case. How about this? Anybody here ever play sports? Your sports team won the game. Yeah, we won the game. We won the game. And what does the coach do? Pulls into McDonald's. Go celebrate with some dysfunctional food. Anybody had that experience? Anybody notice that? No kidding. Okay, wait a minute. How about another version? Your team. Up, and then they have a really, and they go. I'm telling you guys, the food industry doesn't want you to know this stuff. They don't want you to know this stuff. So am I back, by the way? I think I'm back. All right. So yes, we're live, we're here, and we're back. So what I'm really getting at here is that when we had these events as children and as we grew up, they started creating conditioning and they started creating rules. And so to this day, what'll happen is, let's go back to the sports story, because I don't know exactly where you guys cut it off, but one team loses and the coach wants to lift their spirits. So what does he do? Takes them out for pizza and ice cream. The other team wins and they want to go celebrate with pizza and ice cream. And in the middle of all that, what you have learned is that when you have a bad day, I can get pizza and ice cream to fix that. Or when you had a great day, I can celebrate with pizza and ice cream. And pretty soon what happens is we have a series of psychological linkages to food that we want to stop. So I want to show you guys an exercise right now. It gives you this, and by the way, this will give you guys real tools. Here's the exercise. I want you in the chat. I want you to act like we are that team, and we just won the championship. And I'm about to make an announcement to you as the team. We won the championship, we're celebrating, and I'm going to make an announcement. And then you write in the chat the feelings you have about my announcement as those teenagers. Okay, here we go. Guys, well done for winning a team. We're going to go for pizza and ice cream. Now, write in the chat, what happens for the emotions? There it is. Yay, awesome, excellent, woo, awesome, excellent. And you're having these huge peak emotional experiences. And those peak emotions are creating great emotional chemicals in your body, which you are going to link to the smell of the pizza and the taste of the pizza. So you're going to create a hypnotic Pavlovian dog response. But now watch this. Okay, stop writing. Now here's a new one. Now what I want you to do, I'm going to say something about that team. And I want you to write the words that answer the question I'm going to put to the team. They've had their pizza and their ice cream, and it's 40 minutes to an hour and a half later. How do they actually all feel in their bodies? Write the emotion or the physical feeling. How do they actually feel in their bodies now? Look, sluggish, tired, bloated, awful. Now, what if we could get people to feel those feelings when they smell the pizza? Think about that. What if they could have those feelings when they smell the pizza? And by the way, I'm not suggesting there aren't good quality pizzas out there, but let's be honest, most of the pizzas the sports team is eating that day are not the best ones. So what happens is that in that moment, a relationship is being created between you and that pizza, even though an hour later you're suffering. And so one of the things that we work on in the psychological aspects of WildFit is tightening up that relationship so that you actually see the consequences, or you actually physically feel the consequences, so that you don't have to use willpower to not eat those stuff, so that your body actually stops. Here's one of the key things that we talk a lot about in WildFit is you have a food angel and a food devil. Are you guys with me on this? You have the food angel and the food devil. The food devil is the one that goes, hey, somebody brought donuts to work. And the food angel's like, yeah, we're on a diet. We're not eating donuts. And the devil's like, yeah, but they're free. Okay, I know they're free, but we're not on the, like, we didn't buy it diet. We're on the, we don't want to eat that stuff. Yeah, but you've been working so hard. Like, you guys have had who's had a dialogue like that, where you're inside and you've got like a multiple personality food disorder? Has anybody had a multiple personality food? Yeah. So what a lot of people think is that what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to get their angel and devil, where the angel gets stronger and the devil gets weaker. No, what we want to do is get the devil to realize what's really going on. That's what we want. We want to get the devil to realize what's really going on. And I want to share a story with you that really gives you an idea of this, and you might find a linkage in your own life, but this is a really good example. A client went through WildFit, and she was doing very, very well, not having to use willpower. She even wrote to me and she said, this is so shallow, but she says, I feel so amazed, because she's in her 40s. And she said, this is the first time since I was a teenager that I'm happy to go to the beach in a two-piece, in a bikini. Like, it was just huge self-esteem. But she goes, but I am having one problem. I said, what? She goes, I'm just having this huge, powerful craving for icing. I don't know what it is. I'm having this craving for icing, and it's undeniable. And I'm using my willpower not to do it, but I just want to do it so badly. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. What's your relationship been with icing in the past? I bet you used to bake with your mom or something, right? Yeah. Oh, did your mom make homemade icing and you got to lick the bowl? No, she says. No, my mom used canned icing. She goes, I remember I'd be up in my room and I'd hear the can opener, and I'd come whipping down the stairs. I'd duck under the cupboard and I'd grab a spoon and I'd feel around above my head trying to find the thing, and I'd scoop out some icing. And my mom would always let me catch like 2 bites, and then she'd catch me. She knew I was there, but she'd catch me, and then we'd giggle and she'd tickle me and we'd laugh, and then I'd bake with her. I said, really? What's your relationship like with your mother right now? And tears flooded her into her eyes. And she said, my mom is experiencing early stage dementia and I'm losing her. And then she had this blinding epiphany. She goes, oh my God, am I wanting to eat the icing to try to reconnect with my mother? And it was over. It was over. As soon as she saw it so clearly, it was over, and it lost its power. So here's my question for you. If you could right now press a button and a food would lose its power over you, okay? So you could press a button and a food would lose its power over you. It doesn't mean you would never eat it again. It doesn't mean you would never eat it again. It would mean that if you did, it's because you wanted to, not because it wanted you to. It would lose its power. What food would lose its power? If you could press the button, what's the food that would lose its power? I want to see. Let's see, lattes, McDonald's crisps, chocolate cake, chocolates, cookies, pizza, ice cream, carbs in general, chocolate, donuts. Okay, oh, you guys have a serious list. Somebody, Mindvalley, you guys should capture this list. We need this. There's some SEO going on in this list, I think. This is powerful. It's really powerful. Now, what I want to suggest to you is that WildFit is that button. It really is that button, because what we're going to do is we're going to guide you through a very careful process of nutritional education and psychological exercises that will help you to press that button. Some years ago, I was sitting having a conversation with a good friend of mine. He's one of the founders of Zumba. And he said to me, what's the feeling that you think WildFit represents, that it sells to the world? And I said, freedom. And he's like, wow, that's a pretty big feeling. Like that's a pretty, and I go, well, that's what I think it is. The next morning, we were sitting in a buffet restaurant in the resort we were in. This is in Jamaica. And I was sitting having breakfast with him. And this guy, I still remember, his name was David, walked out of the buffet line. And, you know, sometimes people recognize me and they walk up and they go, oh my God, you're Eric. I don't know why people feel like they have to tell me who I am, but you're Eric Edmeades. I'm like, yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah. And he walks up and he goes, I just want to thank you. And I'm like, oh, you're welcome, but what for? And he says, I want to thank you for my freedom. And Jeffrey and I both, like, our jaws were like, because we just had this conversation the night before. And Jeffrey doesn't miss a beat. He says to this guy, David, he goes, what does freedom mean to you? What does it mean? And David says, I'll tell you exactly what it means. I just walked through that whole buffet and this is the food that I selected. And I walked out and suddenly realized that I'd never, ever been in a buffet in a hotel like this where they didn't have pancakes and donuts and croissants and muffins. And this is the first time I've ever been in a place like that that didn't have those things. So I turned around and I walked back in to look around, and there they were. There were the waffles, there were the pancakes, there were the muffins, there were the croissants, only I didn't see them. Because I don't even want them, because I don't even regard them as food. They're not a thing for me. That is freedom. Freedom is the ability, food freedom is the ability for you to eat what you want, when you want, as much as you want, without feeling guilt about it. But it's also the freedom to not eat what you wish you wouldn't eat without any sense of regret. That somebody comes up and offers you what used to be your favorite dessert in the whole world, and you don't have to use willpower. You just say, no, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it because I pressed the button. I pressed the button. Tell me one other food. If you could do it, if you could press the button and you'd be free of that food, one other food that you didn't name before, what food? You press the button and that food, it doesn't mean you'd never eat it again, but it means it would never control you again. What is the button? Cheese, chips, peanut butter, bread, pasta, bread, fries, pizza. These foods are imprisoning you. And WildFit is that button. It absolutely is. And here's another reason. Here's another reason. We talked a little bit about this idea of, like, with the pizza, making you feel very celebratory and then making you feel sludgy. This is something that we call the food timeline. And the food timeline gives you the opportunity to create an increased sense of consciousness about your relationship with food. So for a short period of time during WildFit, we'll be coaching you on this food timeline so that you can create these linkages properly. And then you can press the button and be free of these foods. Now, let me ask you something else. Imagine you could press this button. Imagine you could press the button and you could get free of the things that you wrote. What does your life look like 1 year from now, 5 years from now? What's different in your life if you could press that button and these foods lost their power over you? Remember, it doesn't mean you never, ever eat them. It means you only eat them occasionally or maybe never. But how different is your body? How different is your mind? How different is your quality of life? How different are you as a parent? How are your children raised differently? How much influence do your habits have on the people around you? It changes everything. The fog is gone. You're not tired at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't tell anybody I told you this, but your sex drive and fertility, I mean, be careful about the fertility part, but the sex drive goes up. Your mental cognition becomes laser sharp and fast and focused. And by the way, your immune system steps up and it protects your body in the ways that it needs to do that, because you are in the best possible condition. You just press that button and you get free of those foods and everything absolutely transforms. It's an incredibly powerful idea. I want to share with you one more quick thing that some of you might be a little bit familiar with, but I want you to know there are 6 main reasons that you eat food. There are 6 hungers that make you eat food, and 5 of them are fake hungers, and 1 of them is real. The one that's real is called nutritional hunger. It's where you're actually low on a real nutrient. You're running low on some healthy fats. You're running low on vitamin C. You're running low on some amino acids or what have you. Now, the problem is your body will not crave specific foods. It will crave families of foods. It won't go, your body doesn't go, oh, you're craving vitamin C right now, so you'd better go get a vitamin C supplement or an orange. What will happen is instead, if you're low on vitamin C, you might crave sweet stuff because you can get a vitamin C from citrus, or you might find yourself craving fat because vitamin C comes from liver for those people who eat liver. So you get generalized cravings from nutritional hunger that just simply make you want to eat, and that's fine. But the other 5 hungers are emotional, they're physiological, they're not real. So I'm going to give you one of them right now, and I give you a bit of an exercise to really show you the first taste of food freedom. One of the things that drives you to eat food, this is going to sound crazy, but if I've earned any respect from you in this time we've been together, trust me on this. Thirst is a form of hunger. Because for our ancestors, I don't know if you know this, but there was a time before water bottles were invented. There's a time before running water. So our ancestors, sure, they drank water when they could find it. If there was a river, there was a spring. They drank it when they could find it, but many times it wasn't near them. And so where did they get their water from? Can anybody tell me? Where did they get their water from? They got it from their food. They got it from their food. So if they started feeling a little dehydrated, their body would say, go eat something, because there's water in that. You go eat something. But the problem is today, if you look at the list of stuff that you want to press the button on, if you look at that list, let me tell you something about that list. Almost none of it had water in it. Chocolate? No. Chips? No. Crisps? No. Peanut butter sandwich? No. Cake? No. Donuts, cookies? No water. Not only do they not have water, but they require water. So here you are, a little dehydrated. Tell me if any of you have done this, if this makes sense to you. You were a little dehydrated, you got hungry, you ate some food, and then that made you more thirsty, and then it made you crave even more of the food. You can't just have one chip, right? You can't just have one cookie. It's all part of the cycle. And so what we want to do is go through each of those hungers, like emotional hunger. Guys, we've all eaten food to solve for an emotion. It's a bad idea. And I'm going to finish on this incredibly important point. This point right here. This is so important. Any behavior that you reward, you are very likely to repeat. So what this means is that if you had a rough day at work and you come home and you've allowed yourself to slip into, say, a low-grade depression or sadness, and then you realize that you had some cookies in the cupboard or chocolate or ice cream or wine, and then you go and eat those things. Now, what happens is that the sugar is going to feel very good, and it's going to raise serotonin and dopamine. It's going to feel good. It's going to reward you for eating the food. But it's not really rewarding you for eating the food, is it? Isn't it actually rewarding you for the emotional state that made you go get the food? Now, if you didn't hear what I just said, listen to it again. Isn't it true that your body is rewarding you not so much for the food you ate, but for the emotional state that triggered you to eat the food? In other words, if you eat chocolate to address your depression, you are rewarding the depression. And now your body starts having a craving for chocolate, and it goes, well, last time Carlos wanted chocolate, all we had to do is make him depressed. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. And what that means then is that we want to get very conscious about our relationships between our emotion and food. I woke up one morning. I'd had a beautiful holiday season last year, all the friends and family, and everybody went home, and now I was on my own. I was in my house alone, and I was frankly happy about it. I was like, thank God, it's been nice, but I'm glad I'm on my own. Except what happened is I woke up and I felt depressed. All the love was gone. All the oxytocin was gone. I felt actually quite sad, like really sad. Like I was like, this is weird. And then suddenly, as I'm walking through my living room, I realize that I have the ingredients to make this smoothie called Grace. And I don't want to get into that right now, but I'll just say this. There's a lot of sweetness in it, a lot of good fat in it, lots of vanilla. It's very yummy. Not necessarily something I'd want to drink if I was trying to release weight, but not bad. But here's what's going on. I'm feeling depressed, and I suddenly think, oh, I have the ingredients to make Grace. What happens? I immediately start to feel better. I haven't even smelled it or tasted it, and the idea is making me feel better. But what am I doing? I'm rewarding my sadness. And so suddenly this voice pops into my head, and you're going to have this voice. I'm telling you, you already have it, but we're going to train it with you. And the voice pops into my head, and it says, you can have the smoothie if you have a great day. And I'm like, what? I'm not going to have a great day. I'm having a shitty day. How am I going to? Everybody left me. They abandoned me. Don't they know about my abandonment issues? Like I'm alone. But you can't have the smoothie unless you have a great day. And so then what happened? I went outside and I sat on the beach and I made some sandcastles, and I enjoy doing that. But I wasn't really having fun. But then the tides came in and it threatened my castle. And I had to build the walls, and the castle got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then my friends came over and they saw the castle and they were helping me. And then we went over and had lunch, and we had an amazing afternoon. And I walked back into my living room and thought, now you can have grace. Now you can. You can reward having a great day. Oh, and by the way, here's one more thing. Did I even want the grace anymore? Totally different life, totally different life. And so what I want to explain to you is that there are some very important distinctions about nutrition and about the human metabolism that I want to share with you that I've already begun to share with you that are really, really foundational to you improving your quality of life. I also want to share with you that none of that will even matter if we don't handle the mindset, if we don't handle the food psychology, if we don't handle and deframe the linkages that you created when you were 4 and 6 and 8 and 23. We have to reframe and collapse those things and get you to a place where you are not running on autopilot, where you've pressed the button and you have a genuine sense of freedom. I want to share with you that this experience of learning these things has been 30 years in the making. It has involved studying like everything I could ever find about nutrition, about medicine as it related to food. And it even involved going to Africa and living with hunter-gatherer tribes to get a sense of what human history might have been like. It has been a massive mission in my life. And when Vishen discovered WildFit and used it to transform first his body, then his family, then his company, he went one step further and he started transforming the world. Because we have now touched people in 100 countries around the world. We've helped literally millions of pounds be released. We've turned around more cases of type 2 diabetes that I could even tell you. It's been absolutely incredible. In fact, I think even Vishen mentioned the Canadian government summoned me to Ottawa, and I stood on the Senate floor where they gave me a medal for our work in improving the quality of people's lives. It is the greatest honor of my life that I get to do this work and that I get to share webinars like this with you. So I want to give you some strategies that you can employ. And then I think we're going to bring Vishen back here. Here's a couple strategies. One is this: do not reward negative emotional states with high calorie food. Just don't do it. If you're having that negative state, wait till you've broken that state, find another way to break that state, and then reward the positive state. The other one is that when you do make an exception and you eat something that's not so perfect, that's not exactly perfect, set an alarm on your phone for 40 minutes and check in with exactly how you felt 40 minutes after you ate it. If you do those 2 exercises, you're going to change everything. But now there's one more exercise, and it is this: sugar. I'm not going to ask you to stop eating it. I'm not going to ask you to do anything except notice it. For the next couple of days, every time you pick up some food, I want you to look at the label. And I want you to see where sugar is. But I want you to know it's not always called sugar, because there are over 100 names of sugar. And you got to look for them and discover them and notice that they hide sugar in everything. And here's why. Sugar stimulates your appetite, makes you buy more food, and boosts their profits. We have a food industry that's only interested in profits and food, and we have a medical industry that feels very much the same way. So if the food industry is not going to take care of you, and the medical industry is only going to take care of you once you're in trouble, then I think it's time for you to take care of you. I hope this has been fun. I'm up for some Q&A, and Vishen, welcome back.
That was amazing, Eric. I love how you're one of those few speakers that can keep a person completely hooked without slides or anything else, right?
Thanks.
So just so you guys know, one of the reasons why WildFit is so effective is because Eric is one of the key transformation architects on Mindvalley. In other words, he knows how to. A good transformation architect is a teacher, is a coach who knows how to install in you a new mental model. And once you see that model, you can never unsee it. For example, once you understand this aspect about emotional eating, you can never not understand it. From Eric, I learned that I eat ice cream when I feel lonely. And just understanding that loneliness or sadness was a trigger for ice cream. And why? Probably because when I was young, my mom would buy me ice cream when I was sad, right? So when I feel lonely, the trigger is ice cream. And understanding that got me to undo that trigger and thus end a bad habit. So what we want to do right now is I want to show you how Outfit works. I want to show you how the class works and what you'll be going through. This is the exact same protocol that I went through, and that before we brought Wafid onto the Mindvalley platform and we opened up to all of you guys, this is the protocol that my team went through it. Now, back then, in August 2016, when we first launched WildFit to the world, it was $1,500. It is now, we have dropped the price by almost half. Okay, so it's no longer $1,500 because we want to make it as affordable to everyone. And the more people go through it, because of economies of scale, Mindvalley always lowers the price. So what you're getting here is about half of what it was when I put my entire team through it. So let me share my screen and I'm going to give you an idea of what to expect. We're going to go step by step so that you have all the information you need. You decide if you want to enroll in WildFit. And I want to let you know one thing right off the bat. The results are guaranteed. At the end of these 90 days, if you do not see a marked transformation, if you have watched at least 80% of the videos, and the videos are not long, but you do not see a marked transformation, full money back. We guarantee results if you follow the program. How do we know you followed the program? You've gone through about 80% of the videos. Now, Eric, could you give us an idea? How many hours of learning do we have to do a week?
Well, what will happen is as soon as people get themselves registered, they'll get an initial email that they kind of, gives them their login information and so on. And then the program will start on a Monday. And the first video is a little bit longer than the balance of them, just to create some grounding. I can't remember, I think 30 minutes or so. But after that, for the first 2 weeks, they're very short form, high energy, engaging videos. Maybe they're 7 to 10 minutes long, maybe some are 15, that's it. And you go through those every morning and they give you some specific nutritional information and psychological exercises to do. And that lasts for the first 2 weeks. Then in the third week, it's only weekly videos. There's a video on Monday that guides you through the process of that week. And then a video on Friday that gives you a preview of what's coming. And so you have 2 videos a week in week 3 all the way to week 12. And then in week 13, you have, again, daily videos to teach you to re-anchor everything in so that you take the transformation into your future. And then, of course, there are live coaching calls each week that guide you through the processes and allow you to ask questions and so on. And of course, those calls are recorded in case you miss them.
Right. So notice it's not that many videos. Like after week 4 onwards, it's about 3 videos a week. Each video is 5 minutes. But what you're doing is that you are following the instructions in the video and you're making modifications. But the way Eric teaches is it's not about willpower. He conditions your brain. For example, I remember the week I lost interest in milk for good. And it's now been since 2016. If I drink milk, I feel sick. Now, if I really need to drink milk, like if I was stuck in starvation mode in a war zone and milk was the only thing, I could still take it, but I have no desire for milk. If I even try, I went to Starbucks the other day because I really wanted to try the pumpkin spice latte because everyone talks about it during Halloween. So this was about 3 months back. I was in Hawaii. I ordered a pumpkin spice latte. I drank half of it and I felt disgusted. My body was telling me, no, do not put this crap in me. This is not the same vision you were in 2016 because Eric's conditioning is so powerful. And I tried diets before. I did so many diets, folks. It just didn't work. So this is what you're about to experience. Okay. So first thing is this. It's a 90-day program. 90-day real-time coaching curriculum that permanently transforms your relationship with food and returns you to optimal weight and health. Because of the way the program is engineered, you get hooked on it. You basically want to complete the program. You cannot wait for the next lesson. It is remarkably easy to do because of Eric's concept of behavioral change dynamics. And Eric, feel free to jump in anytime. Okay, now, what happens when you transform with WildFit is that it's not, a lot of you came here because of weight loss, but what happens is you transform your entire body. Even the shape of your face changes. You transform your eating habits. You actually will probably end up saving a lot of money just because your grocery bills go down because you don't buy things on impulse, things which are bad for you. Your health transforms. We had one person who wrote in he had ringing in his ears, and he was almost about to retire from his job because the ringing in his ears was so severe. He was about to go into early retirement. After WildFit, the ringing in his ears, which the doctors had said was incurable, disappeared. It turned out food doesn't just affect your body shape, it affects your body in many mysterious ways. And illnesses that you might have often disappear. We've had people with psoriasis, with skin disease, with acne, with falling hair, all of that disappear after WildFit. I was developing sort of a ball patch in my head before I did WildFit. After I did WildFit, what happened is that patch that was making me a little bit self-conscious, I don't even know how, but hair started regrowing there and the ball patch disappeared. There are correlations between food you eat and hair loss. And so it could be that. Also, graying of my head disappeared. So I do not have more gray hair on my head. My beard's gotten gray, but I don't have more gray hair on my head than I did at the point I took WildFit. And that was something I just cannot explain. I found it really mysterious. So if you're sick of diets and weight loss programs, this may be the most important invite of the year. Now, some of you may be on other Mindvalley programs. Don't worry. Many Mindvalley programs require you to go into like 20, 30 minutes a day of lessons. That's not WildFit. WildFit is more time effective. It's an instructional program. Like Eric said, the first 3 weeks, you do have to invest some time. Eric, it's roughly about 1 hour a week for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, like maybe 10 minutes a day.
10 minutes a day for the first 3 weeks, right?
Yeah,
and then after that, you're on cruise mode. You're following, after that, once a week, you are investing 5 to 10 minutes, 3 times a day. 5 to 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week. So it's less than 30 minutes a week, basically, week 4 onward. So you could be doing another program like Lifebook or whatever. You'll still have time for WildFit. You will have to make time to go to the grocery store and buy the products that Eric speaks about, but we all do that anyway. It's just that your selection criteria is going to be different. Now, what we find is that many people who do WildFit turn in the most incredible success stories. You can browse these yourself. Go to stories.mindvalley.com. You can see a selector there for programs, choose WildFit, and you will see the stories. We have close to 600 stories in WildFit. This person, for example, went from 217 pounds to 190 pounds by the end of WildFit. You can see the transformation that has on his body. Look at this one. So this one is sort of like what my body looked like before WildFit and after WildFit, right? That's a pretty significant transformation. 18 pounds, several inches off my belly and waist. You go from having a dad bod in a shirt to looking really good in a t-shirt. And this lady suffered from radiation fibrosis throughout her neck area. Swallowing was increasingly more difficult. And what she did to overcome the emotional roller coaster was eat lots of butter and sugar. And now she says she's gone through a healing. She's now easily swallowing raw cauliflower, and days go by where food doesn't get stuck in her throat anymore because of the swelling in her throat. Many people say WildFit becomes part of their new identity. Now, I do want to stress one thing, right? So after you do WildFit, it doesn't mean that you stay on the WildFit plan forever and ever and ever. For example, hypothetically, I won't reveal the secrets because part of WildFit works because of the special instructions you're going to get. But you don't stay on that forever. So let's say, for example, Eric says, don't do wine in this particular week. It doesn't mean that you can never do wine again. I eat wine. I love hummus. I eat chocolate, but my body is the same body. It's the same body shape it is. In fact, slightly better at the point I finish WildFit. Why? Because WildFit trains your body for what is called metabolic efficiency. It trains your body to burn fat and not just carbs. So you can shift your body to burn fat. Now, one really interesting thing, on WildFit right now, I'm doing what is called a 2-week WildFit sprint. So after you do WildFit, your body remembers the protocol. It remembers, oh, it's time to tap into my fat reserves. So over Christmas and New Year, I went back to Malaysia to visit my parents. And then I went to the US, and there were tons of like gatherings and parties and Christmas dinners. And I put in about an extra kilogram. And to me, okay, an extra kilogram, I don't want it because I keep my weight really disciplined. So now I'm back. I have 10 days where I'm not traveling, and I'm doing a 10-day WildFit sprint. That means I'm just eating healthy for 10 days, no carbs, no alcohol, and it's so easy. And in 10 days, my body learns to okay, it's time to tap into your fat reserves, and boom, I lose that 1 kilo. And this is how, in just maintenance, is only about 1 or 2 weeks a year. That's it. Maintenance to stay in that same body shape for the rest of your life, because your body has a memory. You flip the switch. Okay, so 90 days to your natural best looking self. And if you understand this concept of the maintenance part, once a year or so, you stay that way, as I have. Eric, anything to add here?
No, I like the way you put that. One of the key things that people will learn about in this program is that your body we evolved the ability to survive seasonal changes because, no houses for a long time and all that stuff. But we also develop the ability to use those seasons. And so what you're describing is exactly that. It's like, what is my outcome right now? And what season do I need to be in? And that is one of the greatest upgrades anybody can experience.
Right. And it's really cool. Right now, I know someone is saying, well, how do I know this works? Well, you don't know, but this is why we give you a guarantee. If you go through this program at the end of 90 days, if it doesn't work for you, you get your money back, right? So
Vishen, if I can just add to that, and I really want to make this point because you will not see diet books out there with a guarantee in them. They don't have one because they fail. And I want you all to hear me about this. If you have ever tried a diet and you felt like you failed, you didn't. People don't fail diets. Diets fail people. They don't work. They're designed not to work. And of course, that's why they don't have a guarantee, because, well, that wouldn't be a very good business model.
Right.
But in our case, we absolutely know that it works. We've had a guarantee the entire time we've been in business, and it's because it absolutely does work.
Right. So the average American will be on 5 diets in their lifetime. Okay. And one of the things is that diets, Harvard released a study. It was definitely Harvard. And I believe what they said is only 1% of people who do diets actually see results. Okay, now the next is no starvation and no exercise. Now, we're not saying exercise is bad. Many people, after doing WildFit, typically when you get to week 8, 9, or 10, you have so much energy you want to exercise. So after WildFit, what happened was I started putting on a ton of muscle because I just loved going to the gym because I had so much extra energy. So often after WildFit, that's when people do 10X or other muscle building protocols. Some people ask me, I got this comment on my WildFit video yesterday, do I do WildFit or 10X first? If you're looking to lose weight, do WildFit first. If you're skinny, do 10X. I did WildFit first. I got to 14% body fat. And then I started doing 10X to really put on muscle, because after WildFit, I felt a little bit too slim. So I did 10X to put on around 2 to 3 kilograms of muscle around my frame. And then I felt really, really, really confident in how I looked. Okay, but you do WildFit first if you are looking to lose weight, not 10X. Now, the WildFit program requires no special food. This is something that's really interesting. Almost everything you need, you can get from a regular grocery store. You do not have to spend oodles of money on expensive supplements or nutrition. Now, this is also something that's counterintuitive. Many diet programs are designed to sell you, get this, a subscription for shakes or special plans. That's a business model that is not in your incentive. The whole diet thing is subscribe to our company for the rest of your life, and we're going to ship you the shake. We don't do that. That's not our business plan. And this is one of the ways we want to disrupt this awful industry that creates so much false hope and sucks so much money out of people. Okay, so here's what you learn. So Eric, maybe you could help us go through this and expand some of these. Part 1, yeah. So this is the first month.
Yeah. So if I even focus on the first 2 weeks, what's going to happen is that you're going to learn some really fascinating things about nutrition and I can tell you that I've had this conversation a number of times, but one woman came to me and she said, I am in the 4th year of a 4-year nutrition degree. I have 6 months left in my degree. And she says, I'm dropping out of the program. And I said, why? And she goes, because what I've learned from you and the research that we've shared has been so foundational and so contrary to what she's learning in her normal nutrition program that she didn't want to do that anymore. And I said to her, look, listen, finish the course anyway. The piece of paper is valuable, but what you will learn during that period of time is some key things about nutrition that are not bought and paid for principles. It's not like, right now, a lot of what we see as food science and food propaganda in the press is bought and paid for. We're going to be looking at some very basic natural ideas about food. And then more than that, you're going to learn a lot about your own internal psychology, the relationship that you have with food, how it was developed, and how you can change it, because unconscious food decisions are not such a good thing when you're still running paradigms from when you were young. So the first month or so of the program is really an onboarding process to lay the foundations. By the way, I can tell you right now, if all we cared about was weight loss, if all we cared was helping you release weight, we would skip that first month. We could get you there faster, but our job is not to get you there faster. It's get it to last. That's our job. Our job is to push that button so that you can be free of those foods. And so what that first month is about is laying that foundation so that you really, truly develop food freedom.
Absolutely. And Eric, tell us about the second month. What happens there?
Well, now you begin to learn a lot more about what we might call seasons. And I don't mean the season where you live. If you're in Minnetonka, Minnesota, we're not talking about the snow outside your window. We're talking about the fact that our ancestors lived with seasons that they had to cycle through. So there are some seasons, for example, where your body knows that the best thing to do is to actually put on some weight. And then there's another season where your body knows that it's good to release weight. And another season where your body knows that it's good to burn old, sick proteins. It's called protein autophagy. And so during that next 2-month period, you're going through a process of learning about those seasons and then actually testing them in your body, like putting your body into the season of spring. And in the season of spring, you will find almost fountain of youth levels of energy, mental cognition sharpening up, all that kind of stuff.
Amazing.
And then you'll also have the skills for returning to spring and understanding spring in your life forever, so that you know that when you've got particular goals. For example, whenever I've climbed Kilimanjaro 7 times, whenever I go to climb Kilimanjaro, I know to head into spring before I head there, because my endurance is going to be off the charts.
Beautiful, Eric. Now, what about the third week?
The third month. In the last section of the program, there's a lot of interesting things that are going on, but the main focus of it is to anchor in the changes, is to get you to a place where this becomes a sustainable lifestyle for you. The word diet, in our current use, has been changed. So if you're watching a nature show and they use the word diet, the announcer comes on and he's like, the elephant's diet is made up of eating 70 kilograms of bark and fruit and stuff every day, and drinking, 200 kilograms and drinking 70 liters of water. They're talking about the elephant's lifestyle, but it's with us that we use the word diet differently. And so what we want to do is we want to move away from that mentality and develop lifestyle. So the last third of the program is about anchoring in the knowledge and the changes you've made and integrating them into your life, so that when the program's over, you're ready to fly solo. You're able to go out there and live a healthier lifestyle easily.
Now, does everybody finish this part of the program? What percentage of people get to this third part?
Well, the numbers we've seen over the years is that from the person who watches the first video to the person who watches the last video, we have somewhere between, depending on the class, an 80 to 90% completion rate. And obviously, you as running a company that does digital education, you know that that's exceptional. When somebody goes and buys the class on Masterclass, they have something like less than 10% of the people ever complete watching the entire classes. So that's the first thing that we had to unlock, is how to create the program in a way that made it so entertaining and engaging and fun that people weren't making themselves watch the videos. They were wanting to. In fact, Vishen, I think you know this, but like on the Fridays, I'm always like, I'll see you next week. Yeah. I'll see you next week. And then on week 13, I'm like, I won't see you next week. And then people write to us on social media, I'm crying right now. I want my video next week, because we've made it sticky.
So I'll tell you one thing. Like, I remember day 66, I was driving to work and I couldn't wait to turn on WildFit to watch Eric's lesson for day 66. And I remember watching it and I call up Eric and I'm like, dude, what the hell are you doing to me? Because I've never had the discipline to stick to a program for 66 days. But here, like, I'm so excited about it. It was that powerful. Now, I want to show you what happened to my body. Okay. So one of the key things is that a lot of the changes start happening around week 7. So some people go to week 6 and they're like, nothing's happening. Week 7, I started melting, and most people start melting at week 7. So this is actually my physical transformation. So I started WildFit in March. Okay. So you can see that is my body in March. And then you can see after WildFit, that's my body. So so in 3 months, this is going from 22% to 14% body fat. After that, I had so much energy that over the next 18 months, I was going to the gym, I was applying 10X. And you see, after WildFit, I was a little bit slim. But what typically happens is you have so much energy, you just want to go into exercise. And that's my body right now. Now, what I put in that picture is that is my body the day I turned in my manuscript for my book. In short, even during my busiest times, when I'm CEO of a company, writing a best-selling book, my body is so hyper optimized, high energy. I want to work out. I'm proud of my body. That's what happens. Okay. So that's what WildFit does for you. So this is what you get. But basically, everything is on one app. So it's on the Mindvalley app. It's around 20 minutes a day, optimized video and learning design. In other words, the way it is designed is to keep things sticky. And what we found is that the behavioral change psychology that we put into WildFit creates 500% better completion rates than traditional programs. This is how I was able to get to day 66 and actually stick to it. Now you go deeper with weekly live calls with Eric and the WildFit coach. So everyone is going to be added to a group. And on that group, you will have coaches and facilitators helping you move through it, going through it, becoming really proficient, answering all your questions, helping you if you get stuck anywhere. And if you happen to miss a session, what happens is that you will have recordings available. Next, we're doing something really unique over here. We started trying this with our Lifebook group, and we found that engagement rates went through the roof. Basically, you'll get a choice to be in a WhatsApp private group or a Telegram private group where every time there's a new video, there's a new principle you have to adopt, there will be messages sent to you. And it seems so simple being part of this private group. But what we found is that compliance goes up massively. Somehow with WhatsApp and Telegram, because we use that for communicating with our families and our friends, compliance goes up dramatically from getting these messages. It keeps you on track. So people are really loving this. This is part of this new WildFit feature that we are putting only for the January 30th class. Okay, now that's not all, because we so believe in this. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to pick 5 winners with the biggest transformation, and we are sending you $5,000 cash and a free ticket to Mindvalley University. So to participate, all you got to do is submit a before photo of yourself, okay, holding up the date. The date must be you have to submit that photo before Jan 30th or within 1 week of starting the class. And then at the end of the class, show your after picture and write a little story or record a video of how you transformed. And what we're doing is 8 people are going to get $5,000 cash and a free ticket to Mindvalley University. That's worth $2,000. And finally, as I mentioned, daily accountability in WhatsApp and Telegram to keep you on compliant, and then live weekly coaching calls with Eric and a WildFit coach. Now, these coaching calls are optional, but many people find that they find Eric's style so engaging that they want to be on these coaching calls so that they can be more immersed, they can get greater ideas, more wisdom. Eric, what are some of the things that you cover on these calls?
Well, there's a lot of interactive Q&A and deep coaching. So sometimes it's just fact stuff. People want to know deeper facts and want to know where the research comes from and so on. And so we do that. But a lot of times it's people bumping into things. They're bumping into a pattern that they've observed about themselves or an addiction that they're curious about. And so I often get involved in doing a quite deep level coaching with them. And that's really exciting because any problem that one person is having, there are obviously many other people in that same group that are facing that. And so we use a technique from behavioral change dynamics called collateral coaching, whereas I'm using one person to create a coaching experience for the entire audience. It's very powerful.
Amazing. Love that. Okay, so these are the bonuses that you're getting for the January class, the live classes, the 2023 challenge. This is the WhatsApp Telegram group, and the chance to win $5,000 cash, and as well as a free ticket to Mindvalley University. There are many, many student stories. In fact, many of the authors themselves on Mindvalley have done WildFit. Ken Honda lost 20 pounds. Marie Diamond lost 8 kilograms. Notice some people say pounds, some people say kilograms, depending on where in the world they are.
And Vishen, if I could just jump in, Marie literally just wrote to me as I was getting ready for this webinar, and she just wrote to me because I was with her in Mexico last week, and she wrote to me and said, "I want to thank you again for WildFit," because she said, I'm just saying in the testimonial here, she said she had all this pain in her knees and joints, and that was some years ago, and it's still gone. So funny that you have her picture here, because I just heard from her. That's very cool.
Okay. And Eric, I want you to answer a question, which I think is really good. Jelaine just asked that question in the chat. If there are instructions to not eat certain things in certain weeks, how is that not based on willpower? Could Eric address this?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's very important. Remember, I'm not saying not to use willpower. I'm saying to use willpower properly. So what willpower is as I use the example for, if you're snorkeling and you want to dive down to see the reef, you can use willpower to not breathe. But there will come a point where your body will override that willpower and you will resume breathing, even if you're underwater. So what happens with most diets is that people have a willpower that lasts out somewhere between 6 hours and 6 days. And so what that means is that if they use willpower to try to change their full eating patterns, 6 days in, they're done. But what we can do is use willpower to make course corrections. So instead of willpower being, something that people are going to live with for the rest of their life, that would never work. It's more like a rudder. So you use willpower to change course, and then you change the behavior as a result of that. So great question.
Okay, thank you. Now, by the way, if you have other questions, put it in the Q&A and then vote up the questions. So check to see if your question's already asked. Vote for the questions by clicking on the thumbs up sign. Okay, and then we will answer the questions with the most upvotes. So all of you can put a question in the Q&A and upvote the questions. Okay,
sure,
so let's start with this.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let's quickly summarize. So here's what you get: the complete WildFit 90-day program, live weekly coaching calls with Eric and a WildFit coach, WildFit daily accountability in WhatsApp and Telegram, the Living WildFit ebook, lifetime access to the entire program and all bonuses. So if you need to access it again, you can. This is a big deal, folks. You get lifetime access. You can take this on the Mindvalley app or on desktop. There's even an Apple TV. You can download the Mindvalley Apple TV app, and WildFit will be available for you there. Okay, and then the WildFit guarantee, which means that at the end of the program, if you feel you're not happy with the results, as long as you've watched 80% of the videos, you can get a full refund. Okay, now your investment is $499, $599, $899. That depends on the country that you're in. So one of the things that we do is we want to make sure that as we are building a WildFit community, we are taking into account people who live in developing countries. I grew up in Malaysia. My mother was a school teacher. She earned maybe $400 US a month. And so it wouldn't be right to not give a bit of a discount to people in developing countries. Most of our users are in Western Europe, but if you are in the US and Western Europe, it's $899. If you are in Eastern Europe, if you are in the Middle East, it's $599. If you are in a emerging country, Egypt, Indonesia, the price goes down. The reason we do that again is just for, in India as well. If you're in India, it's $499. The reason for that is to make it more affordable to people in different countries where the cost of living is really, really, really different. Okay, so we encourage you to join the program, and all you got to do is, sorry, that's the wrong link. That was the Lifebook link, but we encourage you guys to join the program, mindvalley.com/wildfit. Luba, could you paste the link in the chat? Okay, I'm going to paste the link in the chat right now, mindvalley.com/wildfit, and we'll also send it to you in the form of an email. Okay, here we go. And then put in mindvalley.com/wildfit/special. Okay, That's when you'll get the special price, and you will be in this this unique new class that we are forming. Now, some people said, well, $4.99 is a lot of money in South Africa. Yes, but how much is bad health costing you? So I'll tell you a really crazy story. When we first started Wildfit, it was around 1,500. Now, we had a guy from Hungary sign up. In February, so he signed up August 2016, around February 2017 or February 2018, the price had gone down. It gone down from 1,500 to about 1,200. And this guy wrote into us and he said, well, I want my $300 back because I paid 1,500 8 months ago. And so I remember one of our customer support agents, who also happened to be from Hungary, wrote back to this guy in Hungarian and said, absolutely, we will give you back your 300. By the way, what did Wildfit do for you? And the guy said, well, I used to have acne on my back. All my pimples on my back disappeared. Also, I lost 10 kilograms. And I'm so amazed because my sex life with my wife has completely transformed. I lost 10 kg. I have better intimacy with my wife. Acne on my back disappeared. So the customer support agent said, okay, I'll give you, how about we do this? I'll give you back the $300, but you must regrow the acne on your back. You must lose your libido, and you must put back on those 8 kilograms. Is that worth it? And he goes, I see the point. I see the point. Keep the money. So very often, if you think this is expensive, but if you're in bad health, you are making a foolish decision. I'm sorry, but you are. Your health is everything. To me, health is the number one thing. If I don't have my health, I don't have anything else. You can be a billionaire. And I can tell you, if you're a billionaire and you don't have good health, your life is still going to suck. The richest people in the world, they spend so much money to extend longevity, to improve their health. This is so affordable. It's one of the best investments you can make in your life. It's crazy that people will spend 4-5 grand sometimes on a suit or a watch, but 500 to 800 on transforming your health for life, they consider expensive. I think that's a crazy proposition. So if you are not in peak health right now, if you don't have a super fit muscular body and are in perfect health, that means no acne, no hair loss, like your skin is looking great, you look younger than you should be biological wise, this is something that you'd be crazy not to do immediately, because you will make that money back. Better productivity, more confidence, less brain fog. It's a no-brainer for people.
Vishen, I really, you're so right about this. It's funny. I'm reading this message here, Elena says she paid 730 euros for it last year, and she said, but after she got the results, she would have happily paid double that.
I would have paid $1 million, Eric.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, is that if somebody is a little bit concerned about the price, I mean, what it means is that I haven't really convinced you that it 100% works, because if you knew that it 100% worked, $800 wouldn't be a lot. It's not a lot at all to get your health back. But that's why there's a guarantee. There is no risk.
That's why that's a guarantee. The average American, if you're in the US, keep this in mind, on average, you will spend $3,500 a year on health, just on doctor visits and everything else. That's after insurance, $3,500. You will most likely make that money back by correcting your food intake through Wildfit. You can go to, I'm going to bring up this page, stories.mindvalley.com, and all you got to do is click here, type in Wildfit, and you will be able to see hundreds of stories on how Wildfit has transformed people. These are just the stories in English. We have hundreds more in German and Spanish and so on. Okay, then just click on load more stories. So let's go on to the next question. So the leading question is from Christian. Christian says, I think my issue is I eat huge portions of food. Will Wildfit help?
Yeah, I mean, that's a complicated issue. There's nothing actually wrong with eating huge portions of food, depending on what the food is and what season you're operating in. But what we will definitely help you to develop is an awareness that would be equivalent to, say, sort of portion control. Like, in other words, you will realize when you are full better than you ever have before, and that will cause you to not overeat or not binge. So I think you'll have a very different view of what overeating is and what it means and whether or not you want to do it. And your body will communicate with you more effectively. I'll say this. Many people are like, oh, I just listen to my body. Mostly people should not listen to their body. In fact, if you look around America and Western Europe, you see a lot of people listening to their body, and that conversation is not going very, very well. But by the end of this 3 months, you will be able to listen to your body because it will speak with you more honestly. So if you find yourself overeating a little, you will get a really, really good message from the body that will help you to make better decisions.
Right. Okay, so feel free to browse the case studies. You'll see some really dramatic case studies. This is one of the most transformative events that you can take on Mindvalley. And we're coming almost to the end. We'll go for a couple more questions. Okay, so if I don't watch the coaching calls, is that included in the money back guarantee, or is the money back guarantee watching 80% of videos only for the short daily videos?
I think you do 80% of the videos, and I think 1/3 of the calls, and you don't have to be on them live. We have to watch them. So it's a very low level commitment you have to make. We just want to make sure you're getting the core information and following those steps.
Yeah. Okay. So you have 5 days to sign up, and that's because the class starts. So as you can see over here, go to mindvalley.com/wildfit/special. Don't forget to add special at the tail end of the page, okay? And then scroll down. We've put so much information over here, sort of a recap of everything we've covered. You can read about the benefits from immunity. By the way, immunity goes up like crazy. So many people stop getting colds, stop getting flus. Youthfulness, lifespan goes up. And then you can see a breakdown of the program, what happens every week, summary of the bonuses, a couple of really cool case studies. There's a recap of the guarantee. Your transformation is guaranteed. There's information here on how to take part in the competition to win $5 grand. And then you can sign up. Now, for me, I'm logging in from Estonia, which is in Eastern Europe, which is why it shows $599. So depending on what country you're in and the development status of that country, you will see a different price. I'm seeing $599 because I'm looking at this page from Estonia. Okay, and then we have tons of Q&A. So if we didn't get to answer all your questions, please note that on this page, we have tons of Q&A. Okay, these are the most common questions because we've done this masterclass before. So there are tons of Q&A here. If we didn't get to answer it verbally here, you can check out this page. Again, it's mindvalley.com/wildfit/special. So thank you everyone for joining us in this call. I'm glad we could share this experience with you. And thank you, Eric.
Oh, thanks, Vishen. It's been a pleasure, always.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.